This is one of the coolest places that I've ever ate lunch at. And I mean, I'm flying down the highway. He had died. Hey guys, welcome to my channel. My name's Brett. My channel's Born 100 Years Too Late. Today we're gonna ride right up on this side of that big tall knoll right there. And we're gonna make a circle around those little set of bluffs and hills. Try to get up on top. Onward and upward. Today is Friday. Last Saturday, I got a phone call. I'd been out of town Thanksgiving with my daughter and my 5 grandkids and my son-in-law. And I got a call. There was a deer hunter back over here in these mountains that's south of me. They were there and had been deer hunting, but they hadn't found many bucks, and they decided that they were going to call coyotes. Well, they started calling, and they called in a big old Tom mountain lion. And he came within 15 yards of them. So somehow they got my number. They know I have hounds, and they called me. Much to my wife's dismay, on our way here, we hooked it, and then I went up there. I didn't get up there till about 10:30. I filmed it. Let's go back and see what happened. It's a big old Tom lion. I seen his track down there in the bottom. But I ran into a fence. But the hounds are going parallel to the fence. So depending on which way he decides to go, determine what I do with this fence. Could I be that lucky that that lion turned on the other side of that fence and come to this side of the fence? Could I be that lucky? I think I am. It was my birthday just the other day. I seen the track back there. I didn't video it, but we're going the right way. For those that don't know, you'll trail a lion track backwards as easy as you can forwards. "14-year-old dog right there, Mr. Booger Bear. There we go. Oh man, this is the funnest thing I've ever done. Whether you catch the lion or not, it's so much fun to follow these hounds and watch them trail. It don't get any better than this. But there's nothing like the thrill of trailing a large predator like this. It's what you call a lose. But see, that lion came up out of the bottom of that little arroyo. Every time he makes a turn, it takes a little while for the dogs to pick it up. They're looking, they just can't pick it up. I don't know what happened. Unless he walked up here a little ways and then turned back over his track and went out another direction. I don't really know. I've lost Iris. It shows she's treed a half a mile back that way, or 6/10 of a mile. But she's not barking treed, or I would hear her. There were some hunters up there on the side of the mountain. I don't know if she went up to them or not. I'm not sure. I hope not. But I don't know what she'd be doing. Jack's going on up there in the protected part of this canyon. Oh, here he comes back. Dang it. All I can do is make a big circle right in here. See if they can pick it up. We'll circle right around the top of this. Then we'll break back down the other side. There's some guys climbing, rock climbers on the other side of the canyon, that big old bluff over there. And they've got Iris. I guess Iris seen them and went to them or something. I don't know. I got a caller with her name and my phone number on it. So they called me right when I got, and left me a message. And then when I got up here on top where my phone worked again, I got my message and I called them. They said she's just hanging out, just as happy as a lark. That lion might have went up and then turned back over his own tracks and went down and turned back up here, is what I'm thinking. I circled all the way around. Nothing. Not a bark or anything. So I think I'm going to go right on down through there. Try to hit that arroyo. That fence looks like it might turn. If it does, that'd be nice. I could follow. There's got to be a gate in it somewhere. I hate to pop the fence down, jump my mule over, then have to build the fence back up. I see a gate, I think. Haha. It is a gate. I'm in luck. I have no idea what time it is. Let me look. Oh, it's only 2:25. We're riding back in the direction of where Iris is, so I'll be able to pick her up. I don't know why she got sidetracked like that. I got Iris back. She was hanging out with the rock climbers up there. I don't know why she did that. Oh, look at that. What the heck? Wonder who put that here. And what does it mean? Well, I'm on the wrong side of the fence. It goes down through there. My truck's over there. There'll be a gate somewhere. You see, those dogs trailed for quite a ways, but typical of this country, about 2 o'clock, 2:30, that lion went over a little old bald hill and the track burned out. So I think it was, when was it? That was on a Sunday, because we were coming back. No, that was on a Saturday. So it was a few days later. I loaded up the buggy, and I just kind of guessed. And I went back up on the other side of the river. I was on foot. And as some of you know that watch my channel regularly, I've had my heart worked on. I had an ablation. I had an arrhythmia. And I'd been to the doctor, and they burned it, but they couldn't get the bad spot. The spot that they couldn't get is like between two arteries or something, and they couldn't do it. I don't know. I was under for about 4 hours, and yeah. And then I couldn't do anything for like 2 weeks. I went out in the truck and walked. And sure enough, I guessed right. See, that mountain, as the crow flies, is probably not 5 or 6 miles away from where they called me about that lion and where I trailed him. And I got a direction on him. And sure enough, I hit his track up there. And the dogs trailed up a steep, nasty mountain. And I had to go with them. And I was on foot. I wish I'd had Clyde. I started down there. You can see my truck parked over there. The dogs trailed over right there, up out of the top. And I'm on foot and I'm sucking air, but that's okay. It's good for me, right? How old's that track? I don't know. But I had an old man tell me one time, if you can barely keep up with them at a walk, you're doing pretty good. Peso, no. Come on, Peso. They're going back down. Thank goodness. They went right through there and over the top. I got to put the camera down because I need both my hands. Carrying my rifle in one hand, and I need my other hand for balance. Well, we came off the top up there, and we were even higher up than that. Then we got in this old nasty sun-beat dry ground, and the dogs just had to lose. I'm going to go down the canyon and see if I can find a track. And if not, I mean, even if I can, I'd just like to know if we were forwards or backwards on him, because that could have happened. Go boy, Timmy, go boy. Dogs did good though. It's the funnest thing I've ever done in my life. So, typical of this country, sun was out, it got a little hot, track burned out. And let me tell you what, it was fun. And my heart did good. I decided right then and there that I'm not going to let this bother me. If I'm going to die from my heart, I dang sure don't want to do it in bed or that chair. I'd rather do it up on the side of the mountain. I'm going to go right up through that rock outcropping, go around the back side of it, and ride that ridge line all the way down. You see, the other day when I was on foot, I was right over there in those big mountains, right on the other side of them. And then when I got the phone call, I was back over there on the other side of those mountains, and I rode back up. Well, I trailed that lion back this way, and he headed up to those hills. So that's why I went back over there. Oh, I had doctor's appointments this week, and then I had to take my dad into town, my 92-year-old father. You know what it reminds me of? I think a lot of people get the wrong idea. And I can see why. Because most people, all they show is a lion on a rock or up in a tree and some guy shooting it out. That's not the sport in it, at least not for me. To me, it's riding this rough country out in the open. And I love my hounds. And I love for them to do what they love to do, what they were bred for. And I love to trail lions. I like to see where they go. I like to see how they travel. It's an adventure is what it is. Now, granted, you catch the lion at the end of the day. It's kind of your, I guess, what you'd call a climax. But if you don't, and you had a good day out riding and seeing beautiful country and watching your dogs work, you're trailing a lion, that's as good as anything for me. I love it. And then the challenge of being able to do it in this country. This is tough country. And it's tough country to trail in because it's so dry. And there's no foliage really or anything. So it's a really test of your dogs and then your knowledge of where lions travel. And I love to do it on a mule. And there's a lot of different ways to hunt lions. But this is the way I enjoy. Years ago, I ran into a real famous old lion hunter, and I asked him, I said, Mr. McIntyre, I said, how do you hunt lions? He said, I take good dogs into good lion country, and I make circles. Well, 2 out of 3 ain't bad. I'm not in good lion country, but I can ride out here, and there's lions come through here. So I come out here, and I get to ride big circles, and that's what I like. And I don't ever bump into any hunters out here, any lion hunters. Occasionally we got deer hunters in. Rest for a minute, Clyde. What it kind of reminds me of, it's like an Easter egg hunt or they might still have them, those treasure hunts where somebody would plant something and they'd give you clues a little bit at a time so you could go look for it and find it where, whatever it was, and there might be a prize. It's what it reminds me of. We know for a fact that there'd been a lion out here. And lions, big old Tom lions, they travel a long ways. You just try to guess to figure out which way they're going. Or if you're trailing, then that gives you some kind of indicator of where they might go. And they're real habitual, I believe, about where they travel or how they travel. See, there he is. Well, at least I think that's him. Could be a female. I don't know. But when old Booger barks, it's a lion. So when a dog wags his tail, what does that mean? That means he's happy, happy, happy. And the reason they wag their tail on a lion's scent is because it just brings something out in them and it makes them happy. So one of the things I'm trying to get at is it's not necessarily about killing a lion. It's about the sport of getting to them. Now, every now and then, a lion has to be removed. And, like, for instance, here a couple years ago, I think it was 2 years ago, might have been last year, I got a phone call from a lady, and she was hysterical, crying and upset. And a lion had come right into her yard and killed her little pet dog. And she had had that dog for like 14 years. And you hear things like that and you think, well, maybe it was a coyote. Maybe she didn't know it was a lion. And I asked her, I said, are you sure it wasn't a coyote? And she said, no, it was a lion. She said, I seen the long tail and everything. She said, I was throwing rocks at it. and doing all kinds of things to try to get it to let go of my dog. Well, it grabbed the little dog and took it off. So she called me. I went up there the next morning early, took the dogs, I hit the lion track, and I trailed it up a little canyon, and I caught it, and I had to dispatch it. I mean, you just can't have lions going into people's yards and eating their dogs. And once they get started on something like that, who knows? They might just keep doing it. Preferred diet of a lion is deer. That's what they like. But we don't have a whole abundance of deer out here in this desert. So I read a study one time that 60% of these lions' diet out here is coyotes. See, those dogs are trailing that lion now. Look at it. That's Suki right here. She's making a real fine hound. Jack is the black one over there. Old Booger right there is the white with the big black spots on him. There, look at that. That's Clara, darling, right there. And that's Iris right there. Oh man, they love that. This is what's fun. You can kind of look at the country. You know, that lion came off of over here somewhere, probably on the side of that hill, and he's gazing down there looking for deer probably, or maybe, I mean, he could be just traveling. And then he came down through here, and I bet he went right over the top of that saddle right there. But we'll let these dogs work it out. This is the treasure hunt. This is what it's all about right here, right now. We'll head on back and around that way. Then there's some water down there. Big old stock tank. That lion's not on this mountain anymore, but he was dang sure here. Came from up there. And I'm going to go right down through this little draw. There's water down there on the other side. I've been there before. Well, Clyde's getting in pretty good shape. Him and I have been quite a few miles. This is probably my sixth time riding him out. He's still got got his own ideas about things. I have to correct him a little bit every now and then. You'd think there'd be some petroglyphs around here somewhere. I sure don't see any. See, this mule won't drink. Maybe. He'll eat, but he won't drink. Let's go that way. Ride those all the way down. It's not very hot. It's probably only about 60 degrees, maybe. Dog's got water, so we'll be in good shape. right up this fence line. Then when we top over the top there, there's some bluffs over there, and we can get out of this wind. And I'm gonna eat some lunch. I think I can get off that knoll right there, and then right around that corner, looks like a good picnic spot. I need to eat some lunch, let these hounds rest for a little while, let this mule rest for a little while, although I don't think he's very tired. Yeah, this would be a good spot. This makes a pretty cool hideout right up here. Tie that mule up right there. Then I'll sit out of the wind, in the sun, and enjoy me some lunch. With a view. Can't beat that. I think I want to sit in the sun. If I wanted to fight off the Indians, this is where I'd be. Amen. I didn't really want to talk about this, but I'm going to go ahead. The other day, I showed you that video earlier when I was on foot and I trailed that lion up the side of the mountain. On the way back down, the dogs trailed a ways. We lost it. It got hot. And then we got down to the bottom, and I crossed the river, and the dogs were with me, got on the other side, and I noticed Rusty wasn't right there with me. So I looked back down the levee road, and Rusty was just kind of staggering around. I thought, oh no, you know, what happened to him? It's too cold for rattlesnakes to be out, at least I thought. So I got further down, and I looked back, and he was laying down. So I just hooked it to the truck, loaded up the other dogs in the truck, went back up there, and he was just laying there, and he was breathing real hard, like that. I looked between his hind legs, and right up there, he had a big old, like it was, I think it was a rupture, is what I think. I think somehow he ruptured his intestines or his gut or something. So, man, I loaded him up, and I had phone service there. And I called my wife. I said, call the veterinarian. I'm hooking it down there to get Rusty to a vet. I said, call Dr. Schumacher. And I used to use Dr. Schumacher years ago, but that was the man. Now his daughter is taking over. And my wife called me back, said, they don't take emergencies, and they don't take new clients. I told her, I said, well, I am a client. I used to take my horses there years ago. Well, ends up they purge their client list every 5 years or something like that. So I said, what else? I'm flying down the highway. And she was looking. She said, oh, there's an Las Cruces Animal Hospital on North Main. So, man, I turned down the road to make it as short as possible to get up there. I said, call them to make sure they're ready for me when I get there. She called them. An animal hospital doesn't take emergency calls. I was so angry. I said, it's a hospital. It's an animal hospital. What do they do? I said, well, first they said they weren't taking new clients, and then they said they weren't taking emergencies. And I just couldn't believe it. I was shocked. And so I asked my wife any other vets or anything. She was looking. And so I thought, to heck with it. I'm going to go to Tier C. I know that vet up there will help me, which was an hour drive away. So I turned up and I called my niece. My niece said, well, there's Zia Animal Clinic right there in Doniana. And I mean, I was just right next to it, just going past it. So I whipped a U and went in there, went back and checked Rusty in the dog box. He had died. So I went in and asked them, I said, do you guys take emergencies? And they said, yes, we do. And I said, and you're taking new clients, right? And they said, yeah. So, but it was too late. I just couldn't believe that an animal hospital. I come to find out later, a lot of these veterinarian clinics, or hospitals, I guess, are not locally owned. They're owned by big corporations. So what do? Poor old Rusty, he did good trailing that lion that day. And he was making a really fine hound and so personable. He'd get out of his kennel. I'd open up the door to his kennel, and a lot of these dogs, they just take off running and run around. He'd just come out like that and sit down for me to pet him on the head. He was a good dog. But the last animal clinic, Zia Animal Clinic, they said, well, do you want us to perform an autopsy? No, I don't want to spend, probably $500 on a dead dog. I think he ruptured. I think that's what, somehow, maybe he got a stick crammed in him or something. I always had a little bit of a hard time keeping weight on him. So maybe he had something wrong inside of him forever. It never seemed to slow him down. He did good. Oh, well. Beans and hamburger and chili. Good stuff. This is one of the coolest places that I've ever ate lunch at. And if I was going to fight off Indians, this is where I'd want to be. Or if I was an outlaw. Closest water is probably back where we came from, though. Not a bad ride, just if you just rode down there and rode back. I got to be careful. I don't have my wife here to tell me when I drop food in my beard. Excellent, excellent, excellent. That's old Booger. Whoop. That's Jack. That's right on the protected side of that mountain. As soon as they get up here in the sunny side, it'll probably die out. You come down here, cross through right here, and then back down there. I think that's a big old bluff right there. I hate bluffs. Mule power. How can I get off of this dang thing? It's a bluff right there. I know it is. I don't know. Easy does it, Clyde. Yep, here we go. Here we go. Something happened back there. I'm not sure what it is. Maybe that lion sprouted his wings and flew off. I don't know. But it was good trailing there for a while. I hope it was a lion. Almost sure if Booger barks on it, it's a lion. Some really neat country in here. Really neat. I love it. It's kind of, I guess if you're from somewhere else, it's kind of desolate. But I like all the rock formations, the canyons, and the mountaintops. I just like it. Look at old Clyde's ears. He knows he's heading back towards the truck. And he's really carrying the mail now. He's walking. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, concluders. I got a confession to make. I forgot my headlamp again. I just realized that. But I'll be back to the truck before dark. You know, what people don't realize when you're hunting mountain lions, it's not all about killing a lion. It's about having your dogs out there and watching them work figuring out where you might be able to start a track, riding country that you normally wouldn't ever go into. I imagine a lot of people think it's some kind of fast-paced racing run. No, 90% or 95% of a lion track is slow. It's just the dogs working the track out. If you get to where the lion is and they get him jumped, then that can be fast, but it's not going to be fast for very long. Lions don't have any lung capacity, so they can't run very far. This country here is probably some of the hardest country in the world to try to catch a lion in. But I don't care. I enjoy it. I like the challenge of it. Had a good place to eat lunch. It's better than any 5-star restaurant. Weather was good. Old Clyde's getting better every time I take him out. And let me tell you what, he is a rough country mule. Old Booger did a good job. Jack did a good job. Clara and Suki and Iris did okay. They might have got a little lazy at the end there. I think there's more than one lion in here. I think there's a big old Tom walking around, and he's after a female, and she might even have a big kitten with her. It's just the way we trailed when we were on top of this last mountain. Just seemed like things were a little strange. God bless. Thanks for coming along with me. Thank you for watching. It was a good day.